Hello, hello, hello. Hi, how are you today on this beautiful Monday, May 5th, 2025? I am here with an update regarding Sean P. Diddy Combs. Come on in, everyone. Come on in. Please be sure to smash that like button on your way in so you can ring my bell. And let's get down to business. So, today officially marks the start of Diddy's trial. Um, this is actually huge. Um, this has been a long awaited moment. I know a lot of vloggers are covering this, and I decided, why not? I want to weigh in on it. I want to give my opinion and also bring you guys updates as they become available and provide any tangible information that I can glean through this process. As many of you know, I love the law. I love knowing about the law, researching it, um, figuring out like ins and out of different situations. So this is like right up my alley. And in the case of the United States versus Sean P. Diddy Combs, of course, it will not be televised because he is being federal court house. And cameras have not been allowed in the federal courthouse system since 1964. I think that rule and law is quite antiquated, but who am I? I can't make the rules. I don't make the rules. I just follow them. So, pretty much, I will be giving you updates from like other sources and doing my due diligence to find information from reputable sites and news media outlets. So let's go on ahead and get into it. My plan was, before we get into it, let me explain. My plan was physically it's in New York for its duration. However, I'm supposed to be having a surgical procedure done, so I can't really go out of town right now. So it's like surgical procedure or go to Diddy's trial. And I'm like, you know what? My health is my wealth. And I know that I can definitely find out what's going on minute by minute. BBC is providing like hourly updates, I believe. There's also someone on Twitter who's live tweeting everything that's going on in the courtroom. So we could literally sit and follow the case right here. So I was like, I'm not going to stress myself out. I would rather take care of my health first and kind of like cover it this way. So my is going to be from CNA published earlier today that jury selections in the federal trial that will determine the future for Sean Diddy Combs is underway. Nearly 7 months after the once highly influential pop culture figure was indicted for racketeering, conspiracy, transportation to engage in prostitution, and sex trafficking crimes that the government claims spanned over 2 decades. Combs has denied the allegations and pleaded not guilty to all charges. After an introduction from Judge Arun Subramanian Monday morning, prospective jurors were called to the courtroom one by one to review their answers to questions with the court and the parties. Now I'm going to stop there because that's interesting. Um, I don't know if that's like federal court procedure, but usually, well, the jury selections that I have seen happen, all of the jurors were like in the courtroom. And yeah, they called them up one by one, but they didn't actually call them in one by one. I don't know if it's because of the sensitive nature of this case, that they want to like separate the jury in that manner, as far as calling each individual person into the room to, be questioned by both parties. But I think that's a little bit different. If I will research it to verify that I'm correct on that, because it may just be federal procedure. Um, Now they do have, the jury is being sequestered. Basically, that means that the jury will be required to stay in like a hotel or separate housing provided by the United States during the duration of this trial. So basically, if this trial is going to be like 3, 4 months, each jury member has to be able to serve for that time frame. And some people, this is where people get like um squeamish. They get kind of like no longer interested in performing this civic duty of jury duty, right? Because most employers, say most, some for jury duty, they will excuse you for the duration, but it's excused without pay. So some people financially cannot actually deal with that. When I was working back in, let me see, the company it was like had to be 2010. Yeah, 2010. Back in 2010, when I worked for a physician staffing contract management company, we paid for jury duty services. However, sorry, y'all, I had to take a sip of water. However, with jury duty, usually the state, but in this case, the government pays a portion. They pay like something per day. There's a small amount given to each juror, their time spent serving on the jury. It's nowhere near their salary amount or the amount that they would make regularly at work. However, they are compensated, right? So what we would do at Hospital Physician Partners, which is the company I worked for before they sold to Team Health, which is a larger company in the industry. But what we would do is we would minus out whatever our employee made from serving jury duty and pay them the difference of their salary. So we ensured that our employees were made whole while doing their civic duty of serving on a jury. Now, that again may not be the case for every employer. So sometimes when people go in, they're trying to not be qualified to sit on the jury. I mean, that's just the reality of it. They're like, look, I got bills. I cannot sit for 2 months and listen to this and make any type of decision. I have daycare fees and other expenses that need to be paid, and I know you're not paying me. So they have 150 men and women gathered now. And from what I understand, the goal of the prosecution as well as the defense is to work their way through all 150 people in 3 days. Um, I don't know if that's going to be possible. I really hope so. Opening statements are scheduled for May 12th, 2025, which is next week, Monday. So I think they're playing it safe as far as giving themselves a little bit more than 3 days, because the reality of it is that they don't know that they're going to find the ideal 12 jurors to sit for this trial, as well as the alternates that they will need. So let's continue. Where was I? Here we go. Before entering the courtroom, each juror was asked to review a binder of people and places that are expected to come up at trial to identify any. Hold on a second. Let me make sure that my sound is working. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. Bear with me. Just a brief pause. Let me see. Let me get some music on. Oh my goodness, where's the music right there? Mm, right here. Bear with me, guys. Give me a second. I want to do a sound check real quick to make sure that I'm not just talking and talking and talking and my sound isn't working and working and working. Okay. Seems like it's working. Perfect. Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure. I just did not want to, I didn't want to continue the stream and you guys couldn't hear me. All right, so let's see. Let me start back where we were. Before entering the courtroom, each juror was asked to review a binder of people and places that are expected to come up at trial to identify any with which they may have a connection. Judge Subramanian compared the lengthy list to an appendix for The Lord of the Rings. The parties can make a motion to strike a juror for cause after they've been questioned. They can also call a juror back later in the day for further questioning if necessary. After the parties questioned several prospective jurors, Combs's attorney asked for a bathroom break. The judge, who seemed inclined to move forward with questions, a judge, I'm a little told just today. So I think it's setting in for Diddy that, you know, this is it. Um, I've always known that he was going to take it to the door. I had no question in my mind that this was not going to be a trial. I didn't see a plea deal. I didn't see him, saying I'm guilty. I never saw that simply because of who he is and his legacy. You know what I mean? Like, he's a powerful man. Diddy is actually like a billionaire, I believe. So I did not expect anything less than him taking this straight to the door, throwing all his cards on the table, and seeing what happens. You know, a lot of people were like, he's not going to take this to trial. It's too much. It's probably too going to be too difficult. I always knew he's going to take it to the door, guys. So let me go into strikes because we just talked about how both sides have the ability to strike a juror. And striking a juror is basically the the prosecution and the defense both. The jury selection process is a team effort. The prosecution does not have the upper hand. The defense does not have the upper hand. It's just a team effort. Diddy's attorneys have ample opportunities to ask their questions, which were already pre approved by the presiding judge, and the prosecution has the opportunity to ask their questions. Based on the responses being given, either side could say, nope, I don't want you on the jury. Thank you so much for your time and your service. Um, the prosecution may say no, the defense may say yes, but if there's a strike presented, the juror just doesn't go forward. They're stricken. Both sides could be on the fence and want to ask additional questions from of that juror. So that's when they would actually call them back later. But strikes in a federal court in New York City, the number of strikes on attorney has varies depending on the nature of the case. Capital cases such I'm sorry, for capital cases, each side gets 20 strikes. And in Other felony cases, the defendant gets 10 and the government gets 6. In misdemeanor cases, each side has 3 strikes. There is no limit to the number of strikes for cause. So now that we have an understanding of how that breakdown happens, let's move on to some more updates that occurred today within the jury selection process for Sean P. Diddy Combs. And I also want to mention this because, you know, Sean Diddy said that he's a little nervous today, and he has every right to be. He has every right to be nervous because if he is convicted on all of these charges, he faces up to life imprisonment. So this is not he's pretty much fighting for his life in this courtroom, in this courthouse. This is all or nothing. If he's convicted, he most certainly can spend the rest of his life in prison. And if not, let's say they sentence him to 40 years or 50 years or even 30 years. Diddy is 55 years old as of today. He's 55 years old. The picture that you're looking at is an actual drawing from the courtroom from today. As you can see, his gray hairs are showing. He doesn't have his dye products and his stylists available, so he will look his age during this entire process. So, it's just any sentence. I feel personally like any if they gave him 20 years, that he'll be 75 when he gets out. If they gave him 30 years, he'll be 85. If they gave him 50 years, he probably won't make it out of there. You understand what I'm saying? So I get why he's taking it to the door, but the government seems very confident in their evidence. So I'm very concerned for him in this outcome. Not that I'm saying that he should cop a plea. He definitely has the finances to fight this case, and he is definitely getting you know, the best of the best on his team. Hey Deborah, how are you? Welcome, welcome. So glad to find a channel covering this on a factual basis. Yeah, I don't really want, you know, Deborah, I really don't want, and thank you so much for, it's just dental surgery, Deborah. I'm just having dental surgery. So it's not like an invasive procedure or anything. It's just going to be dental surgery. I'm getting dental implants. So it, I'll be fine, I'm sure. But to your point, as far as factual, I don't want to sensationalize this because of the seriousness of the charges. And I don't want to sensationalize this because you have to remember he is innocent until proven guilty. He is innocent until adjudicated by a jury of his peers as guilty, convicted as guilty. So the facts need to be laid out. I know like a lot of people are sensationalizing it and bringing all of these other celebrities names and things of that nature. I'm not going to be doing that. My approach is just to give you up to date information as I receive it or as I research and get it. That's it. Facts over fiction and fluff. That's it. That's all. And I do want to let you guys know, Deborah, you said you're new and you're looking. Welcome to the channel. Um, as a matter of fact, I'll pause on that. But I do know a few people who will be there for the actual trial, but I'm going to wait to announce that until they get there. Then I'll shout their channels out and drop their link so that you can get, boots on the ground. He could tell you how many sweat beads are on Diddy's face and all that other good stuff. But like I said, I'm pure facts here. So, as you all know, he's accused of coercing at least three women to engage in acts with him, and at least with male men of the night during occasions known as freak offs, where the victims were allegedly drugged and forced to engage in X for days. What the prosecutors in this case are alleging that they are alleging that Diddy would have these wild parties where it would last for days and there would be nothing but just X going on. XX, like everybody's just in a bit in one room going at it. And most recently, which I found really interesting, by the way, his defense recently shot up a Hail Mary defense, stating that that Diddy was, what did they say? They said he was like had an incapacitated state or something. We'll listen to their defense a little later. We're going to listen to some audio from the BBC, which I thought it was so interesting, and the way that that legal analyst breaks it down, you'll see why that defense is like it's not going to work. It's not going to run. It's pretty much the judge actually rejected that defense anyway. But um let's see here. So far, we are aware of, well, the counts are as follows. Count one is racketeering conspiracy as it pertains to victim one, victim two, and victim three. Counts two, I'm sorry, two counts of X trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion as it pertains to victim one and two, and two counts of transportation to engage in lady or men of the night activities as it pertains to victim one and victim two. Prosecutors have said in court documents that victim four is a former employee of Mr. Combs. Now that is interesting. So not only are they bringing in, we all know that the first victim one is Cassie, Cassandra Ventura. Um, his long term girlfriend, now ex. Everybody all around the world knows that she is victim one. She has her pseudonym, like she's not going to be anonymous. She is going to walk into that courtroom as Cassie, testify as herself, publicly. And I applaud her for that because with her status, um, it can be, depending on how this goes and depending on the climate of this case, it can be very difficult for her and potentially re traumatizing. Because I think as a society, we're kind of desensitized a bit to women and children being traumatized. I think, and and this is just my personal opinion, guys, but I think that depending on the climate of this case and how it rolls out, I just applaud her for having the courage and strength to come out and testify as herself and not hide behind a pseudonym. So let's continue with Judge Arun Subramani, who will be presiding over the trial, previously ruled that three of the four alleged victims can testify under pseudonyms. So three of the four not be disclosed publicly. I'm sure that the judge will admonish the court. That means the reporters, journalists, vloggers, they will be spoken to by the judge and advised that they cannot say who these people are for their protection and safety. So, so some of these people will remain anonymous unless a member of the press slips up and discloses their identity, or let's say the court gives a lot of detail information on like who they are, like if they starred in movies, if they name a specific movie, if they name a specific character, then it'll be easy for the public to guess who that person is. But I would hope that they have kind of put some safeguards in place to ensure that these people's privacy can be intact. But the person referred to as victim one in the indictment, Combs's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, has chosen to testify under her own name, as I just said. I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure that I said this. I just want to say that I feel that Cassie is very courageous by coming forward and using her real identity, because we live in a world where women and children are not protected. Again, that's just my opinion, but that's how I feel. I feel that there's not enough protections in place in our communities in general or by way of law enforcement. Um, a lot of the R word cases or R words that occur, um, less than there's a very small percentage of them that are actually reported, and some, when reported, are not believed even by law enforcement. So that's why I take that stance. That's why I take the stance that I felt like women and children are really not protected in today's society. But I am happy to see Cassie stand up and speak out against injustices, the specifically what happened to her, and share her story. Have her voice be heard and understood as far as what exactly happened to her, or what she feels happened to her. Because, a person's experience and perception is their reality. So while, you know, Diddy might say, "Oh, I didn't do all that." What? I didn't do any of that. but the way that Cassie perceived those experiences with him may have been different, with the power dynamic in that relationship. Who knows? But we'll learn more about it because she's coming out and sharing her story as herself. Of course, we also should expect them to be included. Um, Wait a minute. Oh, of course, we should also expect men to be included on the prosecution's witness list slash victims list. Why do I say that? I say that it's quite possible that men can be on the list because there are multiple civil lawsuits being brought against Sean P. Diddy Combs in New York, by men and women. So we could definitely expect that to happen. Let's see. Now, during a pretrial hearing, and wait a minute, let me go back. Have you guys seen the video? Who's seen the video of when um Diddy was captured on a hotel surveillance camera, security camera, and it was disgusting. What what was depicted in that video was just horrific. He was tossing and punching and kicking Cassie like she was like a pillow or like a bag of trash. He was definitely being violent publicly in a public hotel corridor. And that video was released by CNN, and um the prosecution actually got hold of that video as well. But they state here that Ventura filed a lawsuit against Combs in 2023 where she alleged he raped her in 2018 and subjected her to years of repeated physical and other abuses over the course of their relationship. Combs denied Ventura's allegations at the time, and they settled Ventura's lawsuit the day after it was filed. Now, in May of 2024, Combs was seen striking and dragging Ventura in a 2016 surveillance video first published by CNN. 2 days after the video was published, Combs apologized for physically assaulting Ventura, saying in a posted video on Instagram that he takes full responsibility for it's wait I well no it says he takes full responsibility for my actions. It should say I think that's an error on the editor's part, but I won't hold it against him. During a pre-trial hearing in April, that's April of 2025, Subramani ruled that the footage of the 2016 incident may be shown to the jury. Now, that's big. That's a huge win for the prosecution. That video on its own depicts Sean P. Diddy Combs in a light that I am sure, I don't know what his defense attorneys are going to be able to say. How are they going to defend that video? Not just that video, But I'm wondering if they're also going to allow in his apology. Now, if Diddy's team tries to say that wasn't him, or the video's not clear, or we're not sure what occurred prior to, they may open the door for the prosecution to bring in his apology. Okay? That may open the door wide open for the prosecution to bring in that evidence. Um, Diddy's legal team includes several prominent, experienced attorneys. And guys, I did my full research on them, and Diddy it has a serious dream team right now. He has an amazing legal team. The only the only attorney, I should say, that is missing from this dream team would be Jose Baez. That's the only one. As far as the ones that he has right now, he has top notch attorneys, okay? And I mean, the best that money can buy. And let's be honest, he has a lot of money. So, Mark Agnifilo, a veteran criminal defense lawyer, is a key figure. I think he's the lead attorney on this case as well. He joined, he is joined by his partner, Terry Garagos, who has experience in sexual misconduct cases. Other attorneys on Diddy's team include Alexandria Shapiro, no relation to Robert Shapiro, guys, and Brian Steele, who previously represented Young Thug. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of deep dive on these attorneys so that you know what the government is up against, because Diddy has spared no expense for the best legal team money can buy. Mark Agnifilo, a veteran criminal defense lawyer who has handled high-profile cases, including those involving Nexium sex cult leader Keith Raniere and Farmer Bro Martin Shkreli. Let me make sure I'm saying the name right. Oh, Shkreli. And let me tell you, wait a minute, where is Shkreli? Okay, so who knows who Keith Raniere is? I'm going to tell you all about him. Keith Raniere, the founder and leader of Nexium, was sentenced 10/27/2020 to 120 years in prison by United States District Judge Nicholas G. Garufus, Garufus in federal court in Brooklyn. Now, I'm going to pause right there because let me see. Did he represent? Let me make sure. Did Mark Agnifilo represent Agnifilo represent Kevin? What was his name? Let me go back. Ranieri. Lord. Okay, let's see if he represented him, guys. Mark, lawyer for, okay. So he was the lawyer for Kevin Raniere. That's not a good look. I get that he's, I mean, I get that he's a good attorney, but 120 years? I mean, yeah, that's not a good look. Raniere was convicted by a federal jury in June 2019 of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, attempted sex trafficking conspiracy, forced labor conspiracy, and wire fraud conspiracy. The court also imposed a fine of 1 mil. Let me see. Hold on. He's got a lot of charges though. I think he no, he's similar. 1,007,050 $1,750,000 in fines. At the sentencing hearing, the court heard victim impact statements from 15 individuals, including Camilla, the victim who was sexually exploited by Ranieri when she was 15 years old. A hearing on victim restitution will be held at a later date. So that's Keith Raniere, one of Mark Agnifillo's clients. I mean, I guess he could have 120 years is life though. Wouldn't you say? Like, I don't know. And he's hmm. And who is Farmer Bro Martin Scarelli? Martin Scarelli is an American businessman who and convicted fraudster. He is best known for raising the price of, hold on, da, what? Daraprin, a drug used to treat toxoplasmosis from $13.50 to $750 per pill overnight in 2015. So Scarelli was the CEO of Tuning Pharmaceuticals, later known as Ver- Verrier, when the company acquired exclusive rights to the decades old drug in January 2022. A U.S. district judge found Scarelli liable for 64.6 million. Wow. And banned him from the pharmaceutical industry for life. Farmer Bro Martin Scarelli was sentenced to 7 years in prison for securities fraud on March 19th, 2018. He was convicted of defrauding investors in hedge funds and manipulating the stock price of a pharmaceutical company. He also faced a lifetime ban from the pharmaceutical industry and was ordered to pay $64.6 million in fines. Now, he didn't make out too bad. He made out pretty good, I would say. 7 years in federal prison and then pay $64.6 million in fines. I mean, he might not be like below broke or completely broke once, he gets out in 7 years, but at least he's getting out in 7 years. You know what I'm saying? The next attorney that I want to talk about is on Diddy's team is Terry Garagos, a partner at Agnifillo's firm with experience in defending and investigating allegations of sexual misconduct. She is the daughter of renowned lawyer Mark Garagos. So, who is her father? Right? Who's this Mark Garagos? Because they're like, I don't know, they're saying it like that's her claim to fame. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure that her experience and talents speak for itself. But I wanted to actually look into her dad because they referenced him right away when I looked her up. So, as the principal with the internationally renowned tr- um as the principal with the internationally renowned lawyer firm of Garagos and Garagos, Mark Garagos cemented his national reputation as a trial lawyer with back-to-back state and federal court jury trial acquittals for renowned Whitewater figure Susan McDougal, later securing a presidential pardon for her. Over his career, Garagos has presented a series of high profile clients, including the Mendez brothers, in their efforts for a retrial, former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson, civil rights activist and former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick, MMA star Velasquez, and President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. So her dad is okay, he's big business. He's he's really like locked in, you know. He's got a really, really big um footprint in the legal world. There's a lot of other things that he's done, but his bio is so long, and I don't want to make this all about her dad. I want to definitely get to her. Actually, I couldn't find too much on her online. I'll have to look. Let's see. Terry. Yeah, I don't want to make it all about her dad. I want to definitely look into her as well. Okay, Miss Terry Garagos. And in parentheses, it says Hargett. I'm guessing that must be her maiden name. It says here that, let's see, what does she look like? Oh, okay. Profession, number of years of practice. Says here that she has experience of 20 years. Let's see. Average cases of clients per year, 75. Areas of practice. Um, wait a minute. Is this right? Community. I don't think this is her. Hold on. Diddy attorney. I don't think that was her. Hold on. Let me make sure. Terry representing Diddy in his ongoing legal cases, including those involving blah, blah, blah. Okay. She is a partner at the Agnafilo LLC, where she works with Mark Agnafilo, another key attorney on Diddy's case. Garagos is known for her experience in defending sexual assault, sexual misconduct cases, and has been publicly involved in defending Diddy. See, yeah, I couldn't find too much on her. I thought I forgot to look her up, but I couldn't find too much as far as her bio on the internet. I'm going to have to dig a little deeper to see because I like to know a little bit more about these attorneys and what their track records say about them. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. The next attorney is Alexandria Shapiro. And as I said before, there's no relation to Robert. One of the attorneys on Diddy's team, defense team, uh, let's see. Alexandria is one of the nation's leading appellate lawyers. Now that is going to be key. That is key, and he's very, very wise for having her on the team. She is going to be able to argue any potential appellate issues, bring them up during the trial, as well as make note of them if they are not like acknowledged by the judge. Let's say she identifies an appellate issue and the judge is like, okay, that's not a concern of mine. She will note it and be ready to help in the appeals process. So that is definitely some person, a key player on the team that he'll need. Noted for successful results in high profile white collar matters, she has won appellate reversals in many criminal and civil cases. These victories include two Supreme Court decisions narrowing the scope of the federal fraud statutes, and they list the case here. It's Camelony v. United States and per Percoco versus United States, as well as multiple Second Circuit rulings granting judgments of acquittal and new trials. Alexandria argued Solomon versus the United States, the first insider trading case heard by the Supreme Court in 20 years. Alexandria is also an experienced trial lawyer who began her career over 30 years ago as a justice, as one of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's, may she rest in peace, first clerks on the Supreme Court. Her practice focuses on appeals, white collar defense, and complex civil litigation. She has successfully represented prominent Wall Street professionals, public officials, as well as major public and private companies. Okay, she's pretty sharp. Now, the next attorney on Diddy's team is Mr. Brian Steele. Now, he recently joined the team and I was surprised. Well, I shouldn't say I wasn't like, oh my gosh, what? Brian Steele? He has what it takes. He's very strong. He's very methodical and he will fight for his client. He showed those skills in the most recent YSL Young Thug trial. So yes, he's definitely going to be an asset to the team. Says here that he recently joined the defense team and previously represented Young Thug in a high profile case. Who is Brian Steele? Brian Steele has tirelessly defended those accused of criminal misconduct since 1991 and has built a national criminal defense practice in state and federal courts based on exhaustive preparation, creative, and novel motions. Skillful appellate advocacy and zealous courtroom showdowns. He is definitely zealous in the courtroom. Brian has appeared in courts across his home state of Georgia, as well as California, Florida, Missouri, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, New Jersey, and Oregon. Brian has been recognized for his skills and accomplishments by peers, numerous organizations, and publications, but his record speaks for itself, and it does. It does. He's gonna be a good one. He's definitely a good one to have on the team. I think the mixture of representation that Diddy currently has is good, but I really feel like deep down, not gonna lie, I feel like he needs at least two more. I feel that he probably needs two more attorneys sitting at that table. I don't think he has enough. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think um he only who does he have? Mark, Terry, Alexandria, and Ryan. I don't know that that's enough. He's only got four, and the government has unlimited resources. We have to bear in mind, y'all. And excuse my background because I'm checking out my food. I am making shredded chicken breast today. So I had to come into the kitchen to check on my food. It's going well. Ooh, it smells delicious too. It's going great. Okay. But I don't know. I feel like he needs to have at least two more attorneys sitting at that table. The federal government, the United States, whenever there's a case that has your name in front of it, well, has the United States versus you in front of it, it's pretty big. Especially, well, I shouldn't say that because they're the United States versus other people, and they haven't had these heavy, very heavy charges, serious charges that can actually land Diddy in prison for the rest of his life. No, but I don't know. I just feel like I feel like he needs to open up the purse straps a little bit more and hire two more very good attorneys. Yeah, I think he needs it. And he did have a fifth attorney, Mr. Anthony Rico. Now, Anthony Rico was initially a part of Diddy's legal team. However, he filed a motion to withdraw. Now, Anthony Rico is the lawyer who quit Diddy's case. He once represented Osama bin Laden, y'all. But he told a judge, that under no circumstances could he continue to serve as counsel for Sean Combs. I want to know why. I want to know why this man said in open court, well, actually submitted in public record, that he could no longer represent Diddy. Like, because you guys do realize that before the case happens, before they even walk through the doors, and before opening statements happen, before jury selection, there's a process called discovery. And it's the process in which the prosecution is handing over evidence. That has literally never, ever, ever, ever happened to me before. Hello? Testing, testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm back. Oh my goodness, guys. I don't know what just happened. That was so weird. Like, the entire system, my web page and all, just restarted itself. Like, it just flashed, and that's crazy. I was talking and I'm looking at the phone and I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened? Whoa, okay, that was crazy. But let's get back to it because I'm almost ready to wrap this up. But okay, here we go. Anthony Rico is the same lawyer who represented Osama bin Laden. Okay? But he told a judge that under no circumstances could he continue to serve as counsel for Sean P. Diddy Combs. And I was explaining to you guys before that break happened, um, there are no surprises, okay? That is the beauty of the judicial system. They want to level and make sure that the playing field is very even for both the prosecution and the defense. Therefore, there's a process called discovery. During discovery, the prosecution and the defense will share their evidence with each other so that both sides can be fully prepared to address any and all evidence being presented, whether it be on the prosecution side or the defense's side. Any specialist, like If they want to bring in like psychologists, if they want to bring in um, therapists, DV specialists, if they, because they might bring in a domestic violence specialist because Cassie was in the relationship so long, to explain why she stayed so long if it were that abusive. Those people, that the witness list, those are shared, so there's absolutely no surprises, right? With that being said, I want to know what Anthony Rico learned during his short time on Diddy's legal team. And not for nothing, y'all, this is the only brother that was on his legal team. This is the only brother. Okay? I don't know. That to me is spooky. I'm just hoping that maybe, I don't know, maybe Anthony didn't see a way out of this situation for him and didn't want to take his money. I don't know. Or maybe he saw something that he couldn't unsee. I have no idea. But hopefully he will sit down with someone one day and explain his decision for withdrawing on February 20th, 2025 in a Manhattan federal court. Um, so let's get into his experience though, because he does have over, um, let's see, over the past 19 years, Anthony L. Rico served as lead counsel on approximately 45 federal death penalty cases across the country. Before the New York death state death penalty was declared unconstitutional in 2004, Anthony L. Rico served as capital counsel on over a dozen death eligible cases. Rico also served as counsel in several controversial cases, including Inter Allah, the World Trade Center. Am I saying that right? Oh yeah, I am. Inter alia. Um, where's my? Where did I messed up my space, y'all. Hold on. There's my timer, and I'm behind time. That's okay. I'm gonna spend additional time because we're gonna wrap this properly, guys. Where am I? Before the New York State policy. Uh, okay, here we go. The World Trade Bombing Conspiracy case, United States versus Omar Abdul Rahmani. The embassy bombing case in 1998, the United States versus Usain, no, Usama Usama bin Laden in 2001 as counsel for Detective Grescord in in Narami, in the Sean Bell case, People versus Michael Oliver, ETAL in 2008, Private Practice of Law, since December 1982. Law practice involves federal, state, criminal defense and capital defense litigation. I think that he lost a really good attorney, and I really want to know why. I'm curious. I'm curious to know why um, this brother decided to no longer serve as counsel on Diddy's case. But let's move on. Hopefully, one day he'll come out and speak publicly. Now, Diddy recently, guys, rejected a plea deal. Like I said, I have always known that Sean P. Diddy Combs was going to take it to the door. So I'm not really surprised that he rejected the government's offer. But during a final court hearing held on May 2nd, Combs confirmed that he turned down a potential plea deal. Judge Subramani previously rejected a request from the rapper's legal team to delay the start of the trial. Combs could spend the rest of his life in prison if convicted. So now we are going to listen to some good audio from BBC. And I'm going to do a little bit of commentary as we listen to it. It's very interesting stuff, guys. They break this down in a very interesting way. And this is like, let's see. Let me go to, hold on. I want to go to, there we go. Turn this up. All right, here we go. Opening statements in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. He's fighting for his freedom against federal charges of sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, and racketeering with conspiracy. Now, she mentions that it's just 7 days before the trial begins, and she's referring to opening statements. As I stated before, jury selection in this case is well underway. They started today in New York. So we shall see if they're able to get through jury selection as projected. They've projected that they'll get through it in 3 days. I'm not sure because they have a total of 150 people to go through to dwindle down to 12 men and women of the jury, and I think 4 or 5 alternates. So before I continue with this, let me just play this disclaimer. Under the U.S. copyright statute, it is permissible to use limited portions of a work, including quotes, for purposes such as commentary, criticism, news reporting, and scholarly reports. There are no legal rules permitting the use of a specific number of words, a certain number of musical notes, or percentage of a work. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, guys. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing today. Be sure to set your notifications to all so that you're notified when I go live or add new content. I'm talking to everybody that's in this live stream now and all of you guys on the replay gang. All right. He denies them all. Now, you already know we're going to be out there in New York getting you the updates as soon as they happen, so make sure you subscribe. But on the 25th of April, there was a pre-trial court hearing in the Southern District of New York, and this gave us a really clear view of how Diddy's team are gearing up to fight those sex trafficking allegations. In short, his lawyers told the court that he's a swinger, and quote, he thought it being swinging was appropriate because it was common. Also later. So that's very interesting, okay? So Diddy's team is approaching this from the standpoint that he is a swinger. I don't know if you guys know what a swinger is. For those of you who do not know, that is generally it's either it could be a single or a couple, but it's usually couples who swap partners, or they invite a male or a female or both into their intimate moments in the bedroom. They're swinger couples who where the man likes to watch or the woman likes to watch her man being pleasured. There's swinger couples, there's swinger clubs, and it's just swinger relationships. It's truly a lifestyle. However, the allegations being brought against Diddy, they're not they're not like they're not aligned with that lifestyle. They're not aligned with the swinging lifestyle at all. I did some research on it, and they don't. It's there's a lot of swinging is generally and normally a consensual uh act. It's consensual. All parties involved completely agree with everything that's going on. I think his attorneys are trying at this point to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks. I don't think the swinger defense is going to work.
We'll be taking a look at the questions potential jurors may be being asked, including ones you might not expect, like whether they're into crime shows. Joining me today is our resident dream team, Rolling Stone senior investigative reporter Cheyenne Roundtree. Hi, Cheyenne. Hi, morning. And criminal defense attorney Sean Kent. Hi, Sean. Hey, how are you doing? Cheyenne, can you just explain to us a little bit more about what was decided at this hearing? Sure. So this is one of the last hearings that we'll have before, Diddy is in court. And so this hearing was to kind of hash out some last, issues on the table. One of the big things was the CNN hotel video that I think everyone has seen, where Diddy is seen.
And I explained to you guys that the judge has approved that CNN video is going to be entered into the evidence, and it will be played for the jury.
Dragging Cassie in a hotel as she was supposedly leaving a freak off. Diddy's team had claimed that the video was deceptive, that CNN had sped up certain aspects of the video, that there was different camera angles, that the sequences of events weren't exactly accurate. So they didn't want the video to be included at trial. However, the government said that they have a cell phone footage of the camera that shows the events similarly, but it's not the full video, and that they have witnesses that can testify to its authenticity. The judge did rule that this video will be allowed into evidence, into court. We'll just see exactly how much will be shown. And that was one moment we've all been waiting for, to see whether the jury will be played this video. There was another sort of headline grabbing moment where Mark Agnifilo got up and made some comments about Diddy's sexual habits, practices, proclivities. What did he say? Be the CFO you've always.
Hold on, guys. We have a commercial.
Under control.
I'm playing this recap on YouTube, so.
Considers himself a swinger, and I think this whole case is
Hold
boiling
on.
down to
Let me.
sexual
Okay.
habits, practices, proclivities. What did he say? Basically admitted that Diddy considers himself a swinger. And I think, this whole case is boiling down to consent, or what was happening in the bedroom between, Diddy and these other alleged victims. And it seems that Diddy's defense is saying, this is a swinging lifestyle. This is his lifestyle. This is what he thought was common. It is common to bring in sex workers for these events. And what he was doing was under what he thought was normal. He's a swinger. And Mark Agnifilo got up and said, there's a lifestyle, call it swingers or whatever you will. He thought it was appropriate because it was swinging is being offered as a defense to the sex trafficking charges. Is that really a robust argument against the charges, which allege he forced people into sexual activity?
In and of itself, no. And so that's why two things that have happened kind of make sense. It's hard to find a defense to these charges based upon what other folks are saying. So good criminal defense lawyers are trying to find either creative ways or truthful ways, and hopefully they can be both. So in this situation, by them saying that he is a swinger, he thought that this was okay. I didn't know this was basically against the law. Well, there's something specifically in the federal system called willful blindness. Willful blindness means, and the judge will tell the jury this, just because you didn't think it was against the law or just because you turned a blind eye to crimes that were occurred, you are still just as guilty.
And that is the biggest issue I think that everybody has. Ignorance of the law. Just because you are ignorant of a legal statute does not, it doesn't absolve you of responsibility. It doesn't leave you unscathed, or you're, oh, you didn't know, oh, okay, no worries, you didn't know, no problem, you can go, you can you know you can actually skate on this. We didn't, we thought you knew. It's okay, we'll drop that does not happen. Ignorance of the law does not absolve anyone of committing a crime. It doesn't, wipe the slate clean. We can't do anything to this person because they just didn't know.
For example, if your husband is a drug trafficker and you get all the proceeds and you're living in this multi-million-dollar home, but you never ask questions, and he doesn't go to work, and I've never seen him do drugs, but it is to be assumed, well, that's called willful blindness, and you're just as guilty of drug trafficking. So the government can argue that. The government filed notice against Diddy's team saying, you guys are trying to squeeze an expert in here, not necessarily about insanity, but about Diddy's mens rea. Mens rea is the mental status that is required to form criminal intent. So it's
Now, that this part, listen very carefully. That his team, I don't blame him. I don't blame his team because that's their job. They're doing exactly what they are supposed to do. They are looking at this thing from every avenue and trying to find every single way to create a defense for the charges, the charges that have been brought against him. They are looking at it up, right side, left side, upside down, to try to figure out a good defense to go with. Now, this mens rea defense, they're trying to say that he wasn't in his right mind at the time. But listen to what this legal guy says, which is rather interesting to me.
Expert in here, not necessarily about insanity, but about Diddy's mens rea. Mens rea is the mental status that is required to form criminal intent. So it specifically says the government respectfully submits this memorandum of law in support of its motion to preclude the opinion testimony of Dr. Ellie Allen. The notice testimony relates to the defendant's diminished capacity to form the mens rea required to commit the charged offenses. So they're going to try to bring in an expert that says Diddy could not form the necessary mens rea, the criminal intent to know what he was doing was committing a crime. And my assumption is it is their attempt to say basically, yes, I did it, and even if it's a crime, I didn't know it was a crime, and I couldn't have formed the necessary mens rea to be convicted of it being a crime. Shayan, we've heard testimony, and through your reporting as well, you've spoken to alleged victims who say Diddy took some drugs and came out of the bathroom and he was a different person, or I didn't recognize the man that was in front of me. Sean, could that play into this line of defense then? If we've got people taking a stand saying, actually, yeah, I didn't recognize him, he lost control, etc., etc. Yes and no. There is something under the law called voluntary intoxication. You cannot voluntarily take drugs yourself and think, hey, I'm crazy, and do crazy stuff if you voluntarily induce the drugs. And
So that's not going to be a strong enough defense for these charges. It doesn't matter how many drugs or alcohol he ingested. You cannot, and I repeat, you cannot voluntarily ingest drugs and or intoxicants and expect that to be a defense in the court of law because it's voluntary. Now, if he was inadvertently drugged, or if it was an accidental drugging, then that would be a totally different story. But he voluntarily took all of these drugs. So he's still going to be held accountable for his actions while in that mental state, that altered state, because he voluntarily did it. It's almost like when someone is drinking and driving, you drank and you got behind the wheel of the car prior, knowing that you were intoxicated enough to where you're not able to operate a vehicle, but you still did. So you're going to be charged with a DUI. You cannot say, "Oh, I didn't know that I was drunk." Well, did you drink the drink on your own? Yes, I did. You voluntarily became inebriated and hopped behind the wheel of a vehicle. So that's not going to be a good defense either. But again, Diddy's team is doing all that they can, and they're doing a really awesome job. The trial hasn't even started yet, and they're pulling out rabbits left and right. So I'm excited to see what this trial shapes up to be. I think the defense team is going to be poised and ready for a knockout, drag down fight with the government.
So that's why I don't think they have offered anything of a true insanity defense. They're trying to do some type of public policy that if everybody is the whole, if all of your friends jumped off of a bridge, would you jump off of a bridge? I literally think that that is the defense that they're going with, that since everybody thinks swinging is acceptable, then Diddy thought it was acceptable. Might even get into the fact Diddy's childhood thought that this was acceptable. So he could not form the necessary mens rea to form a criminal state of mind necessary for a conviction, because you need a criminal state of mind. Unless the government argues willful blindness. He knew what he was doing. He was just turning his eye to it. Another part of what the judge decided was, okay, you can say that Diddy was a swinger or he considered himself to be a swinger, but you cannot cite examples of other prominent swingers to sort of bolster the idea that this was common. Surely then, Sean, you're turning to the jury and you're saying it's common. Trust me. Just trust me on that. I'm not going to tell you how many other people do it in Hollywood, because that's the implication here. It's common within the circles he ran in.
I think that his defense team, with the allowance of the judge, with the judge allowing them to present that argument that he's in the swinger lifestyle, I think that the defense can come up with creative ways to introduce that community to the jury. I don't think that they necessarily have to bring in information or examples of other celebrities. There's swinger websites, swinger dating sites. Um, there's entire communities circled around nudism and swingers. So there are other avenues for his defense to actually present that argument and solidify that argument enough to place in the minds of the jury that it's a normal construct, it's a normal idea, like this does exist. We're not making this up. You know what I mean? I don't think that they have to bring in other prominent figures. There are ways around them being able to introduce the swinger lifestyle.
I'm not going to tell you that. Just take my word for it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And what people don't, I mean, and maybe people can see it, this defense and the judges' rulings are triggering 100% true fact. Diddy will testify. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Because there's no other way to get this testimony out without him taking the stand and saying, this is a lifestyle that I have grown accustomed to, that I believe in, that I think. because it's not like they're going to be able to put in, and I'm not going to say any celebrities' names, but people saying this is what we all do. This would be him having to testify. I find it strange that the judge says you cannot just simply say other people do it and give specific names, but I would be remiss if those specific named people were not allowed to testify if they're on the witness list. You understand? So if a celebrity showed up and said, I was at a party with Diddy, this is what I did, this is me, I think that would be allowed, but Diddy's team is not going to be able to just randomly point the celebrity's name.
Wait a second, because they've been sort of arguing against the sensationalization of these multi-celebrity orgies and happening at these white parties and, you know, everything that social media was lit up with. Cheyenne, doesn't this line of argument just add fuel to the freak-off fire? I think, you know, we're forgetting, I mean, not forgetting, but like this is a trial for his life. And so,
Yes.
in, you know, other media reports and speculative reports about, oh, who's at this party, who's at this party, if there's someone in the room that is a high profile name that can vouch for it. This is something we all have done. Of course, I'm sure Diddy's team was like, please come and say that what he's doing is nothing wrong, that we all do this, that this is common within our circles. And
Now that, I don't know, he might be able to, his defense team may be able to find a few celebrities who are willing to be open about their swinger lifestyle. He may. It's a possibility. Because as I said before, the swinger lifestyle is very consensual. It's not, as far as the charges that are being brought against him, the swinger lifestyle does not resemble, from what I researched, does not resemble any of the charges that that are being brought against him. However, I don't know if that I just don't. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that swinger defense is going to actually assist him in rationalizing, or I can't really say diminishing, because it wouldn't diminish the sex trafficking charge or the coercion nor the racketeering. Um, hmm. What do you guys think? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I am going to get out of here. I appreciate you, Deborah, for being here. I appreciate everyone else that's joined in on the conversation in this live. Let me see if there's anybody else that hopped in the comments. Let's see here. Let me turn on my Bluetooth. I appreciate you guys for being here with me. Thank you so much. Again, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go on ahead and subscribe today. Be sure to set your notifications to all so that you're notified when I go live or add new content. But I really want to hear from you. I really want to hear from the people. I want to hear what your thoughts are, what you're thinking. Do you think, of course, um, the diminished capacity defense was like an absolute no, but this swinger thing, I I don't know. I say it's not relatable to the charges that are being brought. I think it can explain the sexual partners. I will say that the swinger defense could potentially um assist with the multiple partners and bringing in people for specifically for sexual activities in his personal relationship. Yes, that could potentially work for sure. However, they're going to have to find something, the defense is going to have to find something else to argue as it relates to the coercion, as it relates to the racketeering, as it relates to the racketeering conspiracy. I believe they have charged Sean P. Diddy Combs with the Mann Act. If you guys are not familiar with the Mann Act, I will be going over the Mann Act in my next live stream about Sean P. Diddy Combs. Be sure to come back and tune in. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Replay gang, let's congregate in the comments and talk about it. Hey, Libby Lou, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Patrima. I'm just seeing you here. I thought Deborah was the only one that hopped in the comments. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being here. I will catch you guys on the next one. I will be going live every day regarding Sean P. Diddy Combs and the United States versus Diddy. I will be going live every day regarding this case, providing updates as they become available. Again, I want to just be clear that Sean P. Diddy Combs is assumed innocent until proven guilty. And I will be chiming in, giving you my opinion and thoughts, as well as breaking down uh, different trial strategies that his defense is presenting. This should be a very interesting trial. Diddy has a really great legal team sitting at that table. I just wish that he would hire two more attorneys. He needs two more attorneys. He needs one attorney that specializes in the Mann Act, in racketeering. He needs another attorney that specializes in just general law. I know that a lot of these attorneys are coming with, their analysts, they're coming with their own team as well, paralegals and different, arms of their administrative staff to assist. But as I stated during this live stream, the United States has, the federal government has unlimited resources. Okay. They have unlimited resources. So it's kind of like, in my opinion, David versus Goliath. The feds are like Goliath, Diddy is David. So we'll see how this goes, guys. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Replay gang, I am talking to you as well. Until next time.